Bro, literally 45 minutes.
Yeah, we're
later.
recording and you're talking right now.
Welcome back.
Yeah, welcome back to the Awfully Hot Coffee Podcast. Obviously no one's going to be watching this, but in case anybody is unaware, the revolutionary, groundbreaking artist Sophie tragically passed away on January 30th. So we thought it'd be a good idea to talk about Sophie and the music and how Sophie's affected us personally and changed our music taste. And I don't really know how to start this off, but I guess I can ask, what was you guys' first like introduction to Sophie?
Who wants to go first?
You got it, big dog.
I don't remember the first time that, well, okay. The first time that I ever heard Sophie, I didn't know it because it was recommended from Jamie to listen to Hey Cutie by that little collective. Did not even know that Sophie was affiliated with that until like a week ago. But the first time that I consciously knew that I was listening to Sophie was it was after Oils came out, and I was listening to that. I was blasting that out of my speakers at home while I was playing Fortnite, and I'm dropping in, and it went from Pony Boy to Face Shopping, and I turned off the game. And I was like, "Yo, wait, whoa, what?" And I rolled that one back, and I mean, it's just been up ever since. I mean, like, anyone who knows any of us knows how much this PC shit means to us, how formative it's been to our music taste. But we can get into that in a minute. I want to know how you guys got introduced to Sophie first.
I remember I heard Oil and like the beginning of like 2019. For our loyal two listeners out there, if you go listen to the first podcast that's on the channel, I wish there was a video for it because like Jamie and Ben are like talking about like Oil, and I'm like literally just like sitting on the floor like, what the fuck are they talking about? I had no idea what the fuck was.
No,
What the fuck?
meanwhile, I didn't say me and Ben are even friends at the time.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
we're
it's
close
wild.
acquaintances, but not quite friends. That's the crazy
Exactly.
part.
Yeah, so like they're just like geeking out about it, and I'm like, I don't know what the fuck this is. So okay, cool. And I remember like I like played it, and then like there's a 1-2 punch of like Pony Boy and Face Shopping, and I'm like, okay, all right. And then I remember being like, this was like before like I was like really like into like the whole PC scene, so like I was kind of like, this sounds mildly like noise to me. But then Infatuation played, and I was like, oh my fucking god. And I think that like once like that like hit, I think that like really like kind of like opened like the palette for shit like later on that year, like when Gex came out. And I was like, I think that like listening to like Sophie and her production like prepares you for shit like the outro of like Get to You. And then like I think that kind of like introduced me to the whole PC scene from there. And yeah, I think that was like my first like real like introduction to like any of it. And that was like, I don't know, it was just like a really like, it's just like really really, oh okay, cool.
Creative bread, unlimited
Yeah, okay.
minutes.
All right, Brendan.
Minutes.
Fred dropping a bag mid podcast.
Yeah, all right. But yeah, no, that was like one of the like, I have like a couple like really important like first like listens of like the songs and like music. Like I still remember the first time I heard like Runaway. And I remember just like hearing that and being like, this is really different. And I think from that point on, like it definitely like noted like a shift in my music taste. So that was like it's a very important album. So yeah.
James.
Yeah, if I haven't like looked at any production credits for the PC Music compilation album because that was like the first PC anything I listened to, and that was like I was listening to that sophomore year of high school, so 2015 or 16.
So ahead of the curve.
But as I got like more into that, then I was like just listening to everything that was labeled under PC Music on like Apple Music, and hearing like the single artworks for the product era Sophie, like the single artworks are so iconic. So they always stood out to me. But I didn't quite get them at the time. So I would listen to like BIP or Lemonade. I'm like, I don't know if I like this or not. This is kind of weird. And then I guess like I don't know when exactly I came around to that. But I wish I could pinpoint exactly like I listened to Sophie for the first time because it's kind of gray. But if there was a first time, I can almost guarantee it was Hey Cutie because that song is like produced by Hayden, who is the person that is Cutie, and A.G. Cook and Sophie all worked on that song. And I tweeted this out, but like that song was made such an impact on me. The single alone, the next time I do my top 50, that one song is going to be in there. Like that's how much that song like means to me. And I don't know, man. Like, you obviously Ponyboy Face Shopping, when I heard that, I was like, oh shit, never heard anything like that. But when the single, when It's Okay to Cry came out as a single, I was like, wow, like this is pretty insane. And it gave me Bound 2 vibes, both with the music video and just the vibe.
Music video is so fire.
It's so good, man. That song specifically, like the first time I was like, I'm listening to Sophie. This is somebody called Sophie who's very important. And that song really just like, I don't know, really kickstarted it all. And then of course I went back and listened to everything that she had ever put out. And yeah. So
What about you, Sam?
Well, the first time I ever listened to music made by Sophie, I didn't know I was doing it because I was listening to Yeah Right and just going absolutely nutso in the car. It's a funny story. It was me and a good friend of mine, James, who our friendship was sort of built on music, and we were volunteering at a science museum over the summer together. And every day we would both pull up listening to like 2 different albums, and then we'd talk about the albums throughout the day. But the day before, Big Fish Theory had just dropped. So we were obviously both playing that coveted drop. And he got there early. I was a little late that day, but he said, I'm going to wait for you. And I was like, all right, thanks, man. And as I'm pulling into the parking lot and pulling right into my spot, the beat drops on Yeah Right. And I'm just going nuts. And he looks over and then he DMs me on Twitter and he goes, yeah, right? ? And I was like, yes. Just, I mean, one of the most powerful rap songs beat wise. I mean, the mixing is just incredible, insane. The way Kendrick plays with the beat too, with his flow, is just so nuts. Clearly there were genius people at work on this song, and I didn't even know who the people were at the time. But the first time I consciously listened to Sophie is a little fuzzy, but it was definitely 2018 after Oil came out. And I was like, damn, this album cover is so fire. And I do like myself some albums with some long titles. They're usually pretty crazy. And so I threw it on and I was like, oh my God. It was instantly just one of the best things I'd ever heard. The sound, the way it's mixed. I want to talk about this later, the way Sophie's music sounds, but just the way it sounds and the things being said on the album blew me away.
What about you, Brad?
For me, it was, I guess, sort of like Jamie. It was really gradual kind of thing, where I heard a couple of the singles from Product, I guess in 2015, just because Anthony Fantano was like talking big on them, and I thought they were cool. And then like the Vroom EP happened. I thought it was cool, but I didn't really give it enough time or really even understand like what was so different about them up until like Oil came out. And then like Pony Boy, of course, hearing that for the first time is just huge. And then like Sam said, Yeah Right, and also Samo on Big Fish Theory, easily the best songs on the album. Yeah Right's still one of the hardest songs I've ever heard. But yeah, I mean, it was just a gradual thing over time.
I've been really, I don't want to say shocked, but the reception to her death has honestly really surprised me. I didn't realize like how much people really appreciated her.
It's been everywhere. Like she's kind of just like I don't know, like sometimes when like people die, it's like only like a certain like corner of Twitter that like is just like, oh, this is like sad, blah 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 blah. But like my timeline has been just like flooded with like stuff about it. And I think that kind of just like speaks to like, I don't know, in the article that they interviewed Vince for, he kind of was just like she wasn't afraid. Like she was like in like studios and like shit with like a whole bunch of like different people, like different backgrounds, different races or whatever, and was like never afraid to like be herself. And I think that like because she's done so much stuff in the industry, like I remember, oh no, that's so terrible. Okay, so the actual first time I listened to Sophie is she did production on this song called Bitch I'm Madonna for Madonna's album. And
Hmm.
I unfortunately, that's when she was doing like a whole bunch of shit with like Kanye and Travis. And I was like, yo, this album's gonna be good, dude. And like I remember like playing the shit out of that single because it's got a pretty nice beat. That's so
The beat
unfortunate.
is it's so much better than every other part of that song.
Oh yeah, no, everything else on that thing is like complete shit, but that beat is crazy. But like she like had done production on that and she had been like in the industry kind of like messing around. Like she had done stuff like with Rihanna that got scrapped for anti. And like I think it's just a testament to how like pervasive like her style and like everything was because she was like everywhere but she would just like never really know it. Like there are a whole bunch of people that have like pictures like with her where I'm just like what the fuck, how did you like, I've never heard like you guys like do anything together. And I think that it's really like she's just like really pervasive. She was like everywhere even though she was like really like just like in the background for such a long time. And I think I was really glad in like 2018 where she kind of like came into her own as like not a producer but like an artist. And I think that that's like a hard transition for a lot of artists to make. And so I feel like once that happened, like the prominence happened, and then like again everybody like showing their like love, I think is a testament to how like powerful a statement that was.
I
Hmm.
I think that's like what's so bittersweet about this is because like, my immediate reaction, when you hear the news, you're devastated and you're like, I mean, what else can I do but play the shit out of all of her music? And I mean, you go through and you see her discography is just oil remixes and product. Um, but then you go through and you see the track list of every single song that Sophie's been a part of, and it's disgustingly long, um, because she was just so giving. Like so many of these random artists that I've never heard of. I've never heard these songs, and seeing Sophie be a part of it, I guess that is a part of like why it's the reaction has been so powerful. I don't know, man. This one hit me really hard. I can't
Yeah.
lie.
Yeah, I mean, I was saying to you guys earlier in the week that like, just a straight up like death has never affected me this much because I'm fortunate that I have a small family and we're all pretty close and there's been like no deaths there. So like this is the first time like somebody dying has like deeply affected me to the core. And you were saying how you play all for music, and I thought it'd be the same for me, but weirdly it's been the opposite for that reason because I can't listen to the music yet without beginning to cry, really. And I
Yeah.
that wouldn't be fair to her to like listen to the music and just start to weep. I don't know. Some people could see it as cathartic, but for me, I'm gonna give it some time before I go back to that stuff. But to speak on how like everywhere she was, while also painting a picture on how important she was to us, like days before she passed. I mean, you guys were like in the FaceTime, we're all playing Warzone, and you guys are like singing Nine after Coachella. You know,
Mhm.
at that point, I had already had Hot Pink by Let's Eat Grandma, which is a song produced by her. I already had that in my January playlist. Like, she was in our rotation, like all the time, which is why it sucks so much because like, to the build off of like what Ben was saying, like the discography as iconic as it is, it really isn't that like deep. Um, and you hear this a lot when artists die, but this, I truly mean it when I say this, like it felt like she was just getting started, you know?
Yeah.
Mhm.
It,
Totally.
it sucks.
And it just sucks because like even like as an artist, like she like literally had like one album where she was like doing like vocals and stuff. And that's what sucks because it's like as an artist, I was like really excited to see where she was like going to go. But when it comes to production, like again, as we all know, like it's so like pervasive and attention grabbing that it quite literally like Vroom Vroom, like that's really the EP that like changed like the entire trajectory of like Charlie's career. I mean, like if it wasn't for that, she might still be doing like shit with like Iggy Azalea and shit. And like it just like, and even then, like when thinking about that, like her like drum kit on Splice is like quite literally like the like formation of hyperpop, like Gex, Fraction. None of these people would exist without those drums that sound like people hitting like pots and pans and shit in a kitchen. Like just all of the like just sounds and stuff were just like as a producer, she was just like so like pervasive and unique and different to the fact that like you have an entire album like Vince's whole Big Fish theory. She only did 2 songs on that, but like those 2 songs like inform the entire sound of that album. And it's like a marketed shift and like the stuff that Vince was doing like before that. And it's just like a wave that like people had to eventually come around on. But like 100 Gex does not exist without that splice kit. It just they just don't. They're all the hyperpop kids now don't exist without it. And I think that just like the way that all of that sounds, I think it's again just a testament to like how like wild the production was and like the fact that she only like just started to like do her own stuff over her own stuff and that it got cut short is just so fucking intensely sad.
I saw a great tweet like about that splice pack that made a great point that like all of her shit was out there for free. Like everybody can use
Yeah.
it, but
Nobody can do it like
nobody,
her.
nobody could make it like her.
And that's the thing. It's like there are just so many like like on the Cashmere Cat albums, like on both of his albums, there's stuff I'm like, okay, this like sounds like Sophie, or like a Flume album where you're like, this sounds like Sophie, or even like Jimmy Edgar, where you're just like, these are all like artists that are like really, really cool and unique in their own right. But like you can like just hear like the blueprints of just like
They're not
touches of
Sophie,
Sophie.
dog.
They're not. They're like nowhere near, but you can hear like all of these like Cashmere Cat's like music like before like all like before nine is like so much more like what's the like I guess accessible, but then like starting with that album, just like the stuff that he was doing just became so much like weirder. And I think it just like opened up an avenue again for so many people to just like be more experimental and like be more themselves in their work. And it's just like they weren't Sophie, but I think that she like gave them an avenue to do that. And I think, yeah, don't know where I was going with
Yeah.
that, but yeah.
Well, I think what sets Sophie apart, besides the just the the higher level of skill, is I think her writing and her album structures and her song structures are completely like the things that she does with those things are what sets her apart in my mind, because there's so much power but at the same time fragility in like almost every one of her songs, where she's putting everything she's got out there, but it still makes you want to move in a way that really no other, you know, dancing or party song can move you as much as like a Sophie song, just because her mixing is just so good, and her, you know, career as a DJ also informing like exactly how to move someone with music. And so I think she was just like a generational talent that um I don't know, so many qualities of hers are just going to be so far beyond what anyone else is gonna do, just because she was that good.
Yeah, I think that's like what makes it hurt, because the general umbrella term hyperpop, whatever that means, that lane of music that I feel like really got us diving headfirst into, well, not Jamie's been ahead of the curve, but I can personally say that I dove headfirst into it once Gex came out.
Yeah.
But even, I mean, I heard Sophie before that, and it just feels like she's always been next level, as dearly as, Princess Catgirl by Cashmere Cat is to me, or 1,000 Gex is to me. Like, Sophie always felt like she was like, you know, the grandma at the head of the family, and once she's gone, like, how do we keep going? She was the one who we always looked to. I mean, she is the blueprint. And for a genre that means so much to me and so much to us, um, I've never felt like this loss before. I've never had a loss like this. And I think that's why it hit so particularly hard.
I mean, I agree with you. Oh, sorry.
No, you go.
What you said about the grandma at like the head of the like hyperpop table or whatever. I mean, like I like definitely like see that because like again, hyperpop is kind of like I think even the people in the hyperpop community are kind of like this is a nebulous term that means fucking nothing. Because like again, like if we're gonna categorize it, I mean like Sophie and like somebody like I don't know,
Easy fun, I don't know.
Easy Fun, Fraction Guppy or whatever. Like they're all like
That's exactly what I wanted to bring up because
yeah, it's like they're all hyper pop, but like fucking Sophie and like Fraction don't fucking or Umru, well I guess kind of Umru, but like Fraction and like Sophie don't sound anything alike. And like even that doesn't sound like any of like Charlie's like non-Sophie stuff, but the weird or non-Sophie stuff, they all sound like very different. And it's such just like an umbrella term. But then I remember one time I got into an argument online with somebody who's like, what the fuck is hyperpop? And I'm like, at the end of the day, I'm like, it's just people that are using fucking Sophie's drum kit. And like, I think that like, that's it.
Yeah.
Like, there's no like, half the time, there's like no like actual like if you're like listen Tony Valora and like fucking again like a fucking Umru song don't sound anything alike. They're like completely like different, but like you hear something that sounds like I'm like clack like smashing a pan and like I'm like it's hyperpop. It's like and like I think Sophie is like just the uniter for all of it. And again, like I don't know, I don't even know like where you go after that. And I think that like yeah, but whatever you wanted to say, Jamie.
No, I'm glad you brought that up because that's what I was going to say exactly, is that to me there is a difference between PC music and hyperpop.
Yeah.
And the word nebulous is good. Hyperpop is like a dumb little word that Spotify came up with to define a genre that is so like uniquely anti-corporation. It sucks if that's the word, but it is what it is. But you know, a song like Every Night is not like, you know, any like food house song that you would hear today. And to me, the great schism of that kind of music, as it were, like it felt like it happened in like 2018. Like when Oil came out, it felt like the chapter of PC music was closing and hyperpop was beginning. Like it started a new era. Obviously, there's gray in between. Obviously, Hannah Diamond put out an album that was more PC than hyperpop, in my opinion, if we're just going to use these dumbass terms. But yeah, I don't know. I was you know, Ben and I have talked about like how Oil to us feels like the absolute epitome of everything the term PC music could and is and will ever be, as far as I'm concerned. Like it just sounds like the peak of it. I bought like really nice headphones, and the very first thing I listened to was that album because it's so rich and there's so much going on without sounding cluttered, like because it is put together just so well. And the term I would use is like an ocean of sound, because on a different tangent, I used to not like the album structure like of Oil because I was like, why do you have the two like hard as shit Ponyboy Face Shopping back to back and then the rest of the album isn't that? It doesn't make sense. But to me it sounds like, you know, especially when you look at the remix album, it's like there's songs called the Twilight Zone mix, the Midnight Zone mix, you know, Mariana mix, and that made it click in my head that like, oh, that was the intention, that it's supposed to sound like you're just going deep and deep into this ocean, like crushed by like all the noise that you're hearing. It's great and I love it. And also oh, sorry. No, you go.
Oh no, you go ahead. You finish your thought.
No, I was just gonna say, and just something that I didn't know until recently because it got recommended to me randomly was a YouTube video where it's like Pretending by Sophie, but it's sped up like 1400%. And when you hear Pretending, you hear like Blade Runner 2049-esque, like really long, droning, like ambient sounds that are crazy. When
Yeah.
it's sped up that much, you can kind of hear a voice say, "I was just pretending." Oh, it's so good. Like I'm still finding stuff out about this album. It's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna hit on the structure because I like the way I see it is like, It's Okay to Cry is like her taking you by the hand, and then
You're in for some shit.
you're crossing over this barrier into her world, and it's very rough and like difficult and abrasive as soon as you touch down, like as soon as you cross over, and that's when she hits you with Pony Boy and Face Shopping, which also hit on like, you know, anti-corporation themes, and also, you know, sort of the sexuality, like adventurous sexuality that's sort of present in PC music. And then it sort of starts to soften, and you see different sides of it, and then, you know, you go through the entire album, you get to a whole new world, and then at that point you're completely sold on how fucking like just annihilating every single piece or every single sound that Sophie creates is on you. And I love the way that album flows. Oh, so
Yeah.
Yeah, because like one of the days after her death, like I got a notification that Jamie tweeted, and it's, you know, a link, and I see Sophie, and I see like no other song sounds like this. And I really sat there for a second. I was like, he could put any single song off that album and I would agree with him. Like the fact that you can have an album and it's so concise, and it doesn't overstay its welcome. It's fleshed out exactly how it needs to be. But to be able to put a Pony Boy with Immaterial, with It's Okay to Cry, I can't explain it. I can't. I really can't. It's unprecedented genius. I don't know what other way to put it.
Her music is genuinely unexplainable.
She could just
No,
do
it
anything.
is like the epitome of you have to listen to it to understand.
Mm.
yeah.
I thought
And
that,
she just instilled like this undeniable feeling of happiness and freedom in literally every person who I talk to about her music. Like the night after her death was announced, unfortunately had a little B-Day kickback planned, but we decided to party in her honor instead of mourning, because that's what she would have wanted. And just the way Immaterial made every single person in the room feel, you know, from the biggest Sophie fans in the room to the people who that day, you know, told me like, yeah, I haven't listened to Sophie yet, but I've been meaning to. And just everyone just felt so free and happy. And, you know, it's a beautiful thing that kind of music can instill such like difficult to achieve feelings in any other, you know, kind of music.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what's crazy to me is like the way that we talk about her, and the way that the emotions that come over me when I think about Sophie, and when I got the news and all of that, and how not only was she a musical icon, but we haven't even touched on her as a person, her as a trans figure, and how I can't even imagine how those people feel, you know, like
Yeah, no, it's terrible. I saw Fraxium like tweet out something like, "We will never like fucking see a trans woman get old," and it sucks because obviously most of that means like the implications behind the tweet either means like whether it be, you know, suicide or as a victim of violence. Like I can't begin to imagine how that community feels when this person who could very well be a mascot for what it means to like finally like be free and love yourself, to be ripped from you in a freak accident. Like it's not, you can't even blame anybody, you know. It is terrible. But as a person, like we all, I'm assuming we all read like the Vince article. Like
Mhm.
he said that she would show up like in LA, like to his studio, like wearing a leather jacket while it's 100 degrees out.
Fuck yeah, Sophie.
I love that.
Like, yeah, I feel like Sophie as a person ushered in this like be who you want to be, do what you want to do kind of attitude. Especially when you look at like R.I.P and Charlie and Vince, like just talking about her and how like she changed their whole perspective
Right.
on life.
She was a force, dude.
Mm-hmm. And
'Cause,
you
like,
oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, because like any of the lyrics that you, because I think she's a fantastic lyricist too. And any of the any lyrics that resonate with any of us for whatever reason, a lot of it, you know, finding yourself, you know, all of us are in our early 20s, and these are very formative years and becoming who we are. And the double meaning of that with you know, finding yourself as a trans person, like it's just a whole like the more you dive into her music and her as a person, the more tragic this becomes, the more like, I mean, like I said, she's just a force, and
Yeah.
the world is so like worse off without her.
Mhm.
And I think that just like again, like with what Vince was saying, about how like she was just like herself. I think that like again, when you give like people like again, like Charlie could have just been like a regular like pop star if it like wasn't for like I guess like AG and Sophie. But like there's just like I think she gave people like the confidence to be themselves as well. And I think that like Charlie like ran with that sound and like Vince like has never gone back to that. But I think that like an artist like at his like particular like where he was in his career at that point, dropping an album like Big Fish Theory is like kind of a risky move. And I think that just like giving people that confidence I think is really important. And then I think about a couple years back, like she was always like really really mysterious, and like nobody like really knew like who Sophie was or whatever, like except for like people in the industry. And I remember there were a lot of articles going back like before people knew that she was trans, where a lot of people, there's like one like particular article that I think's like a Fader article where it's like chastising Sophie for like appropriating like female like aesthetics on like product and shit like that. And so I think that like when it comes to like I think that like she when she like first like came out as trans, like I think that like the okay to cry video, like it's okay to cry video, I think that that was like the very first time that like on a wide scale people like saw that. And like obviously like not part of the community, but I can only imagine like how like powerful it is to see like this like important person like come out and be like again like this is okay. And I think again oil is like an entire testament to that. Like there's obviously like what Jamie was talking about with all of the like it's like crazy as fuck at the start, and then it becomes this like deep dive into like identity and stuff. But even like face shopping is like quite literally just like my face is the front of shop. Like it's about like I can be whatever the fuck I want. It's hard as fuck, but like the lyrics on that again, it's just like she's like literally saying I can do whatever I want. And I think that that album with all of the like disparate styles coming together is like I can do whatever I want. And I think that's even like evident in like the sound. I think that like because like we were talking about like all the like weird shit in like the splice kit, but like she can do like if you hear lip gloss, that's like a pretty just like regular pop song. Like she can, or Bitch I'm Madonna is like a regular like pop song for 2015. And it's like I always felt like she was the bridge. Like I don't know anybody in this scene that can like work with like Madonna and then Vince Staples and then somebody like fucking Girlfriend of the Year. Like it's just like she could do anything. She was like, she could do anything. She was a testament to that, like all the different production. Like if we're talking about like the weird like sounds that sound like fucking like gelatinous dripping and then like dark metallic sounds and shit, like that's all like the weird shit that like I think that like she was known for. But like every once in a while she would drop a song and be like, I can do this mainstream pop shit if I wanted. I'm just not fucking with it right now. And I think, yeah, I don't know, literally anything.
No, like 100%, because when I was reading an article about like her musical like influences growing up, and she said like she didn't care about like anything with guitars. She didn't give a shit about pop music. She only like strictly listened to electronic stuff. So definitely. The theme of being who you want to be is, I love that keeps coming up, because obviously like that's the just big core concept of Oil. But like she has this great unreleased song with Hatsune Miku of all Vocaloids,
No
I'll Be
way.
Who I Want to Be, that needs to come out right now. It's so good. She has so much unreleased shit. It's pretty upsetting. But if I could talk about like the structure of the album again, ocean theme, if we're sticking to that metaphor, It's Okay to Cry. I like whoever said it, like she's holding your hand, and then Ponyboy face shopping, it's like she pushed you into these choppy waters, like right off the boat. And you're just like, what? And then followed it up immediately with Is It Cold in the Water, which is like a breather, like, oh my God, this is chaotic as hell. And then that's where you truly start getting into like sinking into yourself. And then Immaterial feels like the euphoria of realization. It feels like a grand awakening to yourself. The lyrics, which the lyricism's great, and Sophie did help write it, but also I need to correct myself. Cecile Believe is all over Oil, and she helped write a lot of the songs. I didn't know that when we recorded the last podcast, and I said she was up and coming because I'm a horrible person.
Don't worry, we saw your comment on the.
Dude, I was so mad at myself. But like almost all the vocal work, as far as I know, outside of It's Okay to Cry, which is actually Sophie's voice, but all the vocal shit that you hear on Oil is Cecile Believe. But she sings on Immaterial, without my legs or my hair, without my jeans or my blood, with no name and no type of story, where do I live? Tell me, where do I exist? And then it goes into Immaterial, which is like, I don't know. It feels like to me like nihilism, but not in the traditional sense where it's like, nothing matters. It feels like nothing matters. It like it doesn't matter what anybody says. I can literally like do whatever I want in this life because I'm here and I exist and I have free will and I'm allowed to be myself. And then close it out with Whole New World, which is like,
I got goosebumps right now. Jesus,
dude, it's crazy. And then when you go to Whole New World, which is like, it feels like a flex. It feels like, fuck you. Like this is like the world I'm in now, and you have to live in my world. And then Pretend World, which is this just crazy like ambient track, really to just like fill out the gaps of whatever could even be left. It's insane. I don't know, man. It's just really especially tough because it's just like it's the perfect debut album, and I was so excited to see like how do you even like develop from that. And I don't know, man. The rumor was that her album was gonna drop like this summer, so best case scenario, it's like a Mac Miller thing where it's essentially completely done, and then it comes out and it's like this grand opus. That's what I'm hoping and praying for, because I don't know. It sucks knowing that like there's a limited amount of Sophie music in the world now. Like it doesn't feel limitless anymore.
Yeah. But I think, there's so much more to even love and figure out about her music and her as a person that she did in her lifetime, that, she did sort of make infinite music in a sense that,
for sure,
her music is going to be timeless and forever is going to stand as something that has positively affected our lives. And I think I'm very thankful for everything that she's done. And, if anything else happens, so be it. But as it stands right now, she's still one of the greatest artists to ever live.
And I think a huge part is that like she has like, there's such a like back catalog of shit that's just like never released, that's like available to like, you can like look shit up on SoundCloud. Like if you haven't heard Burn Rubber, like you can go do that, and I promise it's a fucking incredible time.
I played Burn Rubber for you guys before, but if you don't remember, it's a song with Sarah Benito from
Yeah.
Cara Benito, and it's so good. It's
Hard
insane.
as shit. And there's like a whole bunch of stuff. There's a whole bunch of like unreleased stuff that she did with Charlie. And I just think about shit like that. And I think about like moments that like we've had. Like I remember I think you were there, Jamie, but like I remember like I played like Trophy like with me and Ben in the room, and like we just like went fucking stupid for like
Yeah, it was
two and
us in Ben's tiny bedroom in
Yeah.
Athens, and it's just a bunch of like 4 sweaty dudes like just
Never,
going.
I swear to God, I've never danced like that in my life.
that was crazy.
I will never dance like that in my life so fucking hard.
I've just never been like moved to like just like move like that. I remember the first time when I heard like, because I remember I had heard some of the product singles like a while ago, but then like Brendan played like MSM in the car, and I was like, huh? Like I literally ascended. They're just like so many moments like that with like songs by her. I was like, when was it? I was a junior in high school, being like, yo, this Madonna song is hard as fuck, and like and like again, like she's like influenced just like so many important like just like moments of my life as a producer. Like I use her fucking like drum kit all the time. Like I'm inspired by the sound she does, and I think that like, man, I don't know. And I think again, going back to the like she can do anything and she inspired so many people. I think even the, and like let me clarify my earlier statement, not shitting on Flume, Cashmere Cat, any of them, they're all awesome people, because I think that like the way that she influenced them, I think everybody kind of went in their own direction with like that like creative freedom that I think she inspired in people. Because like Cashmere Cat and the Flume album sound like completely different like from each other, even though you can tell they're from the same like kind of like headspace, or like even like, and what just really sucks is that like I really wanted her to become so much more mainstream. She was supposed to do some stuff on Lady Gaga's latest album that I wish she was on, because I think that album would have been so much more interesting, like had those collaborations came out. But again, I think as we all think, I'm sure Vince was like really fucking ahead of the curve on like Big Fish Theory, and I was like so excited to like watch everybody catch up to that, and like and just like have like, I still think it's gonna happen. Like I mean, Dylan Brady's doing like Rico Nasty songs, but like I just like think that like again like what it means for like an artistic movement, like things like that, or like the sound of like different genres, like as it started to like creep into other stuff, I was just so excited to see everybody kind of like catch up to her. And I know that like had that happen, like she already would have been on some other shit, but I don't know, she just really inspiring, just means like so much. And I think that regardless, like again, there's so much content that's like inspiring to a lot of people that I think like she like will live on, because there's so much stuff out, even though she only has those few like official projects.
Yeah, and like as tragic as it was, the way that she went out, it was so poetic. I mean, like the pictures of the Parthenon in Greece with the full moon, you know, everyone's saying it's Sophie's moon. And then I mean, I'm sure you guys saw the petition that came out today with or maybe it was yesterday, but naming the one exoplanet that looks a lot like the color palette of oil. I think that's beautiful, man. Like,
Signed it immediately.
dude, I've never, ever, ever signed a petition so fast in my life.
Send that my way. I somehow didn't even see it, but
I retweeted Charlie's tweet about it.
You gotta turn on notifications on Jim.
Oh,
A
Yeah, if
real
there's
friend
anything you
would do
take
that.
away from this podcast, is Jamie needs to turn on Brendan's notifications.
dog, I don't Twitter does not want to show me your guys' shit. I do not see tweets from you guys all the time, and I don't know why. I want to go back to something Sam brought up, which is like the pure happiness that you feel when you listen to Immaterial. I made a tweet like 2 years ago, and it said like,
That's a sonic smile. That
every time I listen to Immaterial is like the first time I'm listening to it. The song will never get old to me, and that's what I love. If you watch like our top albums of 2020, you know, there's so many albums where I'm like, I like it because it makes me happy, and I can't elaborate from that because I didn't prepare. But I like, you know, I like stuff that makes me happy. I like stuff that makes me feel good, and nothing gets me in that headspace better than PC music / hyperpop shit. And like the two people that do it the best are AG Cook and Sophie. no, I'm not going to say Sophie's better. I think they have equal pure serotonin dubs, in my opinion. But like immaterial, of course. Is it cold in the water? Like, isn't necessarily like you would think like a happy, like, you know, ecstasy kind of song, but
She's
like
beautiful.
you listen to these like like synth like plucks all over your ears, and it sounds like you're looking at like a chandelier swinging, if that makes any sense.
It's really euphoric.
How
Yeah.
shiny everything looks, and it's insane. Paradise off the Vroom Vroom album is like a top 5 song of all time for me because it makes me so fucking happy, you know. And that's like, I think that's the legacy at the end of the day, like will carry in her music forever. That um the feeling of reveling in yourself and the joy of being alive, I think is very important. And that's what I feel every time I listen to it.
Yeah, we're gonna be talking about Sophie for a long time. She's gonna be very relevant for a long time. I can see us doing a music review in 10 years about whatever pop album, whoever new person is up, and just being like, oh, this is, you know, some Sophie-esque thing, you know, whatever. Like her influence is gonna be, I mean, the ripples that she's gonna have in the industry, you know, mainstream and underground for I don't even know how long. And her, the same can be said with her in the music community, the trans community, just being a fucking icon at large. I mean, it sucks, but I it does make me really happy to see her being so honored.
Yeah. um I don't know. To quote a Sophie song, nothing left to say, you know. It speaks for itself.
Yeah.
I I did want to mention how like far the influence goes, because Princess Catgirl, the Cashmere Cat album, for whatever reason, I've been listening to it on repeat like this week. I don't know how, but it's like helping me get through this shit. And I only found out literally today that like Sophie has credits on there, of course.
Mhm.
I guess she helped with production on some of the songs.
No way.
Yeah, yeah. But what was I gonna say? Oh yeah. But it's just like that album doesn't exist without Cashmere Cat meeting Sophie, you know. And now I believe like I might consider that for my top 50 because it's 19 minutes of like perfect music. The Sophie influence, it's insane, honestly.
Do we have any last thoughts?
Just a thank you to Sophie.
Yeah,
And rest in peace.
yeah, we've come here today with much heavier hearts than usual, but it was cathartic for sure. And I mean, as I've said a handful of times, seeing her being honored, you know, all over Twitter, Instagram, wherever it is, but to do it within our own group, it's I'm glad we did it. I'm very glad we did.
Plus, we just need to make more podcasts in general. So, again, if Sophie can influence us to let us be more creative and actually get the ball rolling on this shit, I would like this to be like the beginning of like more timely updates to our YouTube channel rather than year-long breaks.
Yeah, because like to harken back to a conversation we were having before we started recording, literally fuck school. I don't give a shit about any of this. Like, I just want to make podcasts with my boys. I want to listen to beautiful music. Dude, I don't give a shit about whatever quantum mechanics homework I have. I would much rather listen to Sophie. I would much rather sit there and ascend to a beautiful ass album and have an experience that anyone who hasn't heard that album, I know they haven't had. And I'm thankful that I get to say that I've had that experience and I get to whenever I want. she's been a mainstay on my record wall, and she's not going anywhere anytime soon.
We're really lucky to have like experienced this unfold in real time and like right at the height of our adolescence, going into adulthood.
Just to be alive at the same time, I think it's
Yeah,
just, yeah,
I mean,
truly.
No, I didn't even like. Obviously, I considered it, but like the pure coincidence and luck that we have, not only to be alive when she was, but like I don't think we could have been a more perfect age to start listening.
We would not be the same
We
music
grew up
listeners,
like with that
even
shit.
remotely. We would not even be close to the same music listeners if not for Sophie.
I think that like, yeah, I think that especially like as you get older, it's kind of like you become just like less open to new sounds just because, I don't know, boomeritis. But like I think eventually like it like hit at the perfect time where I'm like open to this and like open to like changing, and like that is exactly what happened.
And I
I'm
think that's
grateful for that.
honestly like that mindset, I think, is going to take me a lot farther because of that, because that came so early, you
Yeah.
know, because these sounds are so visceral and so out there, really. I mean, it's nothing that you've ever heard before. And to do that at, you know, such a young age, or such a, you know, early stage in my music listening, I mean, I'm thankful for it. I feel like I'm so much more open to so many different things. And even if something doesn't click the first time that I've heard it, like there's a reason why it was made. And, you know, I change. I can give it a try another time. And I don't know. She just, my whole attitude towards art and how it makes me feel and how I approach consuming it, I mean, I can't deny her influence. We can't thank her enough. We really can't.